Welcome back. So, another really famous thought experiment that I want to go over is what's called the trolley problem. And a lot of people have heard of the trolley problem. The general idea of it is that you are standing on a track. There is a trolley that is going down the track, and it is about to run over 5 people. But you have the ability to pull a lever and make that trolley divert and run over only one person instead. Do you pull the lever? This is classic utilitarianism, right? Your action would prevent the deaths of 4 people, but you'd be actively causing the death of one. So we have to ask, is there something about our inaction or our passivity that if we did not pull that lever, are we still responsible or not for those other deaths? Now, so many of the things I'm going to chat about on this throughout this series, there's no answer. There's no correct answer, but it's important that we think about these things because it tells us where our ethical systems lie. What do they tell us about ourselves? Because one of the first changes that you can make to the trolley problem to really get at people, a lot of people will say, yeah, you pull the lever, right? You're going to save 4 lives. So then you change it. It's okay. Well, now you're on a bridge above the trolley. And you're standing up there with a fairly large man. And you see the trolley coming, and there's 5 people, strapped to the tracks. They are going to die. But if you were to push the person off of the bridge, they would land in front of the trolley, derail the trolley, and you would save those other 5 people. This tends to get a different reaction, despite the fact that you're still committing an action to cause the death of one person instead of 5 people. The difference seems to be that you are actively touching and, physically throwing the person off of the bridge in this case. And that seems to impact different areas in our ethical algorithm. But you can also change up the trolley problem and try and get at how we weight different aspects of people. So let's just say that there's one person on either track. Would you pull the lever? Maybe not, right? What are you going to do? You're just going to pull to change it from one person to another? However, what if it's going to run over a baby? And you could pull the lever and make it run over an 80-year-old man. Do you pull the lever then? Okay. What if it's a baby on one side and you would pull the lever, but it would run over 10 50-year-old men? What's the choice there? What if it's 10 50-year-old women? Does that change anything? What if it's only 5? So we can play with these things and say, what is the weight of one life versus another? When is it enough for you to make that choice that we say that's worth it or that's not worth it? And again, there's no real right answer. There's no way we can write it down and figure it out. But the trolley problem is actually really, really important right now because there are actively engineers figuring this stuff out for self-driving vehicles. Self-driving vehicles have to be programmed to make those decisions. Do I kill the driver, or do I veer onto the sidewalk and run over that woman with a stroller. They got to make those decisions. So it can be really, really important that we think about how we're weighting these things. Now, as a personal thing, we also have to recognize how we are determining, right? What factors matter to us? What factors don't? Right? Would it matter if I said that there was, a member of your close community that you knew on one side, right? It's your wife on the one track, but there's 10 people on the other track. Do you sacrifice your wife for those 10 people? What about for 100? What about for 200? 1,000? Again, no right answer, but they're important to think about. What would you do? What would you sacrifice in order to save something else? The other really important reason that the trolley problem can be used, because it does help us to kind of weigh those aspects. Now, what if we put animals on the trolley track, right? What if it's one 40-year-old guy on the one track, and the train's going to run them over, or we can divert it and kill 15 whales? What if it's the other way around, right? What if there's a whale, a blue whale is on one track, and we can choose to let the trolley go and kill that one blue whale, or we can choose to divert it, and it might harm a dozen people. The thing is, we make these kinds of decisions all the time. We are always, as a society, as a community, as political agencies, we are making trolley problem decisions. We are choosing what we think is important and what can be sacrificed. And a lot of times we are making that choice and saying, is it worth sacrificing a dozen people if the quality of life goes up slightly for another 100? We weigh that. We weigh that and make that decision. What's even scarier is that, for the most part, we're not making that decision. There's a bunch of other people that are pulling those levers. And they are pulling those levers saying, what if I sacrifice 100 people, but I'll make $10 million if I do that? What if I sacrifice 10,000 people, but it'll make stock shares go up for, anybody who owns stock in this company? Those decisions get made. They're happening today. People are choosing how many people it is worth inconveniencing, making sick, or outright killing in order to make money, in order to change the quality of life for a different sector of people. So we really have to recognize who is making these decisions, when these decisions are being made. And ultimately, these decisions are being made by people that I wouldn't trust to make them. It scares me. The type of people that we see at the heads of these companies are choosing to make decisions that are abhorrent because they don't care. They either don't care about the sacrifice, the people that are being sacrificed, and the quality of lives that are being sacrificed, or they don't care. They either don't know or they don't care. It's one way or the other. And that's really problematic because they are pulling these levers constantly. So, Trolley Problem is a really interesting way to both look at our own ethical standards and how we weigh different qualities about different types of people. It can be a way that we start to weigh decisions from the environmental perspective against the benefits that those environmental sacrifices bring to humans. And it's also really important that we understand that other people, sometimes terrible people, are making those decisions, and they are not necessarily considering the ethical ramifications of those decisions. So, love the trolley problem. Really useful to know about, really useful to think about, and I hope you enjoyed this. We'll talk again soon.